Hi everybody, my name is Lorea. I'm a TV journalist, and this is my second video on my theories regarding coronavirus. In my first video on YouTube, which I made last week, I spoke about how I believe that the Americans invented the coronavirus and then put it into China. This video is about a new theory that I have this week. I actually believe that there are two strains of the coronavirus, a more potent strain, a much stronger one, and a much weaker one. And that depending on your nationality, you are more likely to catch one or the other. So since I made my first video last week, this week I read that China and Japan are agreeing with my theories. They're siding with them. They're starting to believe themselves that the USA is responsible for creating this virus. And a few Japanese virologists now have concluded that the virus is man-made. This backs up my assumption of last week that it was created by the Americans. Perhaps I could even say it is a more sophisticated version of the SARS virus, which I now believe the Americans also put into China. Apparently, you only need to look at the chemical structure of the virus to conclude that it is not a natural phenomena or mutation. So these Japanese virologists claim that there could be as many as 5 different strains of the coronavirus, but right now my theory is that there are at least 2, and I'm going to attempt to explain what I feel about them in this video. So I believe that many countries where English is spoken as the first language, or countries which are allies of the USA or former British colonies such as Canada, Australia, New Zealand, India, and the United Kingdom itself were infected by a much weaker strain of the virus. Then you've got Holland, Norway, and Israel. They probably have this weaker strain as well, as they are allies of the USA. This is why we do not see a wide spread of this virus in those countries, not even in India, where Trump made his recent visit. And it's interesting because India is the second most populous country in the world after China. So you would have expected that the coronavirus would have spread in a similar way as it did in China. But we're not seeing those figures. So I truly believe that Trump went to India in his recent Indian trip to teach the Prime Minister there how to keep the coronavirus under control. His trip was like a warning as well. You're going to get this virus, and this is how you deal with it. It also explains the relatively peaceful reactions of Trump and Boris Johnson this week when talking about their reactions towards the pandemic, that is the coronavirus. There seems to be no panic whatsoever. They've been relatively relaxed about this whole thing. Boris Johnson has not even ordered schools in the UK to be closed yet. Life is pretty much normal over there. I mean, schools are closed in most of the European Union, in China and in Hong Kong. So why aren't they closed in the United Kingdom? My friends in the UK do not report any fear and are not taking precautionary measures against the virus. Business is continuing as usual in the United Kingdom. It's mainly in the in the countries that do not speak English as a first language that we are seeing the virus spread rapidly. That's the countries of Europe, China, Iran, South Korea, into North Korea, and now we see this virus proliferating. So since we can assume that the USA invented the virus, we can also assume that they have a cure. And this cure, some rumors say, is in Israel. But the rule of human behavior, I feel, is that you're not going to invent something that you cannot eradicate or reverse the effects of. You are not going to invent something that you cannot destroy, right? So believe me, when the UK, the USA, or Israel finally decide to announce to the world that they've discovered a cure, they will be selling it to all of us for a very inflated price tag. And this now explains why Trump's recent decision was to let British people, but not Europeans, fly into the USA, because the Americans don't want the more potent coronavirus that the Europeans have in their country. Now, in the last 24 hours, Trump has issued this racist statement against Europeans saying they're not allowed to enter the United States. But why should the British get any preferential treatment when their numbers, their statistics of people infected with coronavirus and those who have died of coronavirus in the UK are equal to or greater to their neighboring countries of France, Spain, Holland, and Germany? So it doesn't make sense that the British would be allowed into the USA, but not the Europeans. When journalists asked Trump about this, he replied to the media that the UK was, number one, not as infected as other countries, and that they, number two, had borders, you know. What? All countries have borders, Trump. This is the lame-ass excuse as the reason why you won't let Europeans fly into the United States. So I suspect Trump is allowing UK citizens into the USA because of 4 reasons. Number one, he's the owner of a few golf courses in the UK, so he has business interests with the country. Number two, he knows that the strain of the coronavirus in the UK is weaker than those in, say, Italy or Spain. Number three, he has the cure for the coronavirus, therefore he's not worried about letting the Brits in because he'll probably cure them when they arrive in the United States, but he doesn't want to give the Europeans, you know, the peace of mind by curing them just yet. And number four, he's racist. So if you don't speak English as your first language, he basically doesn't want you in the United States. That's nothing new there. Trump's racist decision lends more weight to my theory that the USA did invent the virus and that the UK is enabling the USA to do it. You know, it's kind of like a dysfunctional relationship. For example, your spouse has a marijuana, alcohol, or sex addiction, and you continue to encourage it because it benefits you in some way. That's how I would describe the relationship between the United States and the UK. I don't think they really like each other, but they're married together like a dysfunctional marriage because they each cover each other's ass and wipe it as well. So the USA and the UK, we have to remember, are traditionally allies, and they also control the world's most powerful medias. So everything that they feed you and tell you about the coronavirus, all the statistics that they say to you of the people infected in their countries and of the people dying in their countries, you shouldn't really believe any of it because they're probably all lies. As they do have the cure for the virus, though, I believe that when those Americans and British travelers fly into America, they are going to be injected or sprayed by some anti-coronavirus substance in the airport. The cure for this coronavirus could be something really simple, like a spray or an injection or, you know, another virus that you can just release into the airport and that everybody who lands in that airport will miraculously be cured of it. I mean, after this sophisticated update on the SARS virus, which I believe the coronavirus to be, the Americans are pretty much capable of anything, you know? That is the scary aspect of it. We were all expecting World War III to be a nuclear war, but now it's actually a virus war. And the Americans, the Brits, the Israelis, possibly the Norwegians, they're just making us sweat and suffer because they're sadistic and they enjoy giving us pain, and they want to drag out this whole virus as long as they can, drag it out for just to prove a point. They also don't mind if a few people globally die because of the virus, because it is in their interest to diminish as much as possible the population of China, Iran, and North Korea. Now, I do have a theory, a new one, which would kind of explain why the virus has spread so strongly in Europe, especially in the northern regions of France and Italy. Sorry, Spain and Italy. But that is going to be in my next video. So I hope you stay tuned and you watch it. And that's the coffee.